Well, first, let me say this bourbon absolutely blew me away. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Greatly appreciate it. So today we are going to be tackling from Dettling their cask strength bourbon whiskey. So this is going to be a single barrel. And first I have to say a big shout out to Mary. You know who you are, for sharing or giving me this bottle to do a review of. So greatly appreciate it. And it's a relatively new bourbon to me. Never really kind of got into it, but we'll dive into a little bit more of what this single barrel has to offer today, but just kind of some of the specs or details on this one. This single barrel was coming in at 109.4 proof. Admittedly, the mash bill on this for me was not that easy to locate. So if you are somebody who knows what the mash bill that Seth Dettling is using, leave a comment below. I'd love to know exactly what that mash bill is on this one. So it is going to be aged a minimum of about 4 years. This one was almost 5 years to the date. So, you know, could fluctuate obviously with them being single barrels. And price wise on this, in doing a little bit of research and looking, it's kind of been all over the place at around maybe 90 all the way up to about $120. So let's go ahead and kind of dive into this and why it was that this bourbon really kind of shocked me in a very good way. So let's go ahead and take a look at the color. So I mean, as you can see, this thing is a deep, rich, kind of almost like mahogany type color. Again, moving the whiskey around, it's showing beautiful oils on there. So love to see that. Hopefully all of that translates over to the palate once we get into that. But first, let's go ahead and dive into the nose. So right away, you're getting these big, rich, bold kind of brown sugars. More of that kind of toffee note. You do get a little bit of that kind of Alabama kind of terroir. I'll say you do get a little bit of that maybe more craft kind of note, but it is very, I'll say enjoyable so far. There's nothing that is off-putting. You just know that this is maybe coming from a non-heritage brand, you know, somewhere in Kentucky or MGP. This does give you a little bit more of that, again, kind of that craft feel, but don't let that kind of sway you in the way of ignoring this. Big, rich kind of caramels, almost like a Werther's or a rich, warm caramel note. And I'll say this about it. It has this coffee cake kind of pastry, all of what you get in that kind of smelling of like what a coffee cake has. So you've got the confectionery, the sugars, you know, really all the brown sugars. But again, you are getting a little bit of that sweetness that's there. Almost feels a little bit like a rum-soaked like raisin or a rum-soaked kind of fruit, something along those lines. Yeah, rich molasses note that's there. But all right, rather than waste any more time, let's go ahead and dive into the palate. Cheers. So let me talk to you about ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic, why I use it, why I love it, why it's been an absolute game changer for me, and why I think it can be for you as well. The answer to why is simple. For me, it works. How easy is it to take? Simple. Open up the box that they send you, pull out one of the little bottles, give it a quick little shake, and down the hatch. It's as simple as that. And let the ZBiotics take over from there. So when do I use ZBiotics? Typically, I use it prior to doing any barrel picks, or if I'm going to be heading out for an evening and I know I'm going to be consuming a few alcoholic beverages, this is an easy solution. I know I'm going to feel my best and really allow me to be productive the following day. Now, a little bit more about ZBiotics. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to help tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for the rough next day. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. And just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, stay properly hydrated, and you'll feel your best the following day. Now the question, how do you get it? Simple. Check out the link in the description below or use code BourbonJourney15 at checkout and save 15% off your first order. And again, make sure you check out the link in the description below for 15% off your first order. And remember, if you're unsatisfied for any reason, there's a 100% money back guaranteed, no questions asked. And a big thank you to ZBiotics for sponsoring today's video. So the one thing I'll say immediately is you do get a little bit of that, like I mentioned on the nose, a little bit of that kind of terroir, that crafty feel to it. But that kind of goes away a little bit, and now you start to kind of settle into what this thing really has to offer and what kind of shocked me or blew me away with this. The nose and palate match almost identically, which is something when you're dealing with cask strength whiskeys, something that I absolutely love. You're able to kind of put it all together and just experience all of what that whiskey has to offer. Again, those big, bold brown sugars, molasses, big, rich kind of caramel notes. It almost gives me the feel of, you know, in addition to that kind of coffee cake I had mentioned before, it tastes a little bit more like kind of a liquid chocolate pecan pie. I think you get a little bit of that terroir, again, from Alabama, kind of mixing all together. That's just working extremely, extremely well for me. It's a very enjoyable, slightly different profile, but something I can really, really kind of get behind and simply enjoy. I think you start to get some of those like kind of heavy or rich kind of toffee notes. And I'll go even further and say when you get into those rich notes where you've got this kind of like dark, like espresso or a dark coffee bean, you know, what it is you get from a dark roast coffee, those big, just rich, earthy kind of notes so far. Yeah, again, more of those kind of like, you know, vanilla custard type of notes, things along those lines. The one other thing I'll say is it is very mouth coating. There's a viscosity to it that is fantastic. Rich, creamy, great mouthfeel, spicy. I'm really not kind of mentioned that. It is a little bit more on the decadent side. The oaks are definitely there for sure. But again, it has this really sweet kind of backbone to it. It makes it just very enjoyable, very easy to drink. And again, you know, at almost 110 proof, it just makes this a very, very enjoyable, easy drinking kind of cask strength bourbon. Yeah, even got a little bit of a more chocolate or like a cocoa powder, something like that. It's kind of all over. And I feel like if you really sat down with this pour, it would just kind of do a lot of different things, maybe over the course of an hour and change in some different ways. So I would say this is a bourbon that you really need to kind of take your time with and just explore what it has to offer for you. But I think overall, if you can get your hands on this, I would highly, highly encourage you to find a bottle or a cask strength bottle of the Dettling single barrels, because I think in general, this is kind of the flavor profile you're going to get. Of course, with them being single barrels, they can change, you know, from barrel to barrel. But I think overall, this is maybe what the Dettling and the brand from a cask strength standpoint is going to offer. And if this is what it is they're doing with a bottle that is at about 5 years old, roughly, give or take, I think they're really, really heading in the right direction. And maybe this is a bottle or a brand that as we start to now get into 2025, should or could like really start to explode. I believe they're in maybe between 5 to 10 states. They are available online, so it is available. So let me know your thoughts on Dettling or the cask strength bourbon. You know, have you had them? Your overall thoughts on those, you know, your availability to these. But again, overall, I was absolutely blown away by this bottle and when I kind of got into it. And I just think overall what it has to offer, this is going to be something kind of going into 2025 that people really need to kind of give this a try. So again, leave a comment below. I'd absolutely love to know, you know, your thoughts on this overall and really kind of what it means or offers, you know, to you. So there you have it. There's the Dettling single barrel cask strength bourbon. Something that, again, like I mentioned early on, just absolutely blew me away with what it really had to offer. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Facebook and Instagram, those places at My Bourbon Journey. If you'd like to help support the channel or become part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, make sure you check out that link in the description below. That down there with a lot of other great things for you as well. So again, with that being said, thanks for tuning in today. And as always, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.